Think we on, man. What up, man? Mic check 1 2 1 2. It ain't a Monday, but it's a Wednesday. Hope everybody had a great Memorial Day weekend. I was talking to you on Memorial Day, man. You was outside, man. What did you do?
Yeah, man. I was just being outside, not wanting to be in the crib, man. Just popping out or whatever was going on over the weekend. It was just chilling. Everything was cool, man. Weather was good. Ain't no complaints. It's getting hot down here.
It is, man. Summertime, man. We in the midst of it. It's got to get hot. Shout out to everybody coming up in the room right now. You guys are probably either up top, out west. I mean, we got people who are listeners from all sides of the geograph, if you will. It was hot here. Put some food on the grill. While you were outside, what music is bumping outside?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I've been saying this, like, at least from my city standpoint, I don't really hear too much new music. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Bad
I
thing.
really don't. Not in the clubs, not in the functions. Not too much like new music that pumps through. You're guaranteed to hear a Drake record, whether it's a record from him or him featured on something. You can't avoid hearing Drake in the club. Still, you'll still hear some Future. You'll hear some Gunna poke through. You'll hear some old Migos. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't really. It's like the trap wave. In the ladies, they'll throw some. Some Lotto or some Cardi or some, even Sexy Red, you'll hear. Like, it's not really like any of the new stuff that we really talk about on this channel and we debate. It's not really the stuff that's being played in the club. And I know we've been having this thing in the chat with Ron. He's saying, you don't hear Kendrick outside, but I'm not going to lie. In the last 2 weekends, I've heard Kendrick's TV off in the club. I've heard Not Like Us in the club. So it's heard, but it's not like in a frequency of like how it's probably exaggerated to be. I hear it more on radio than I do out in the open. So I mean, like I said, what's played in the club is not it's not matching what's played on radio, or it's not really matching what the streets is listening to all the way, and
Yeah.
it's kind of
I
different
don't
when
know.
it.
I think people remember or are so used to an era where if somebody was doing crazy numbers, that it was dominating everywhere. And the truth of the matter is, like, in a digital format and in the streaming format and in this world that we live in, on-demand world, whether that be music or entertainment, you can't really quantify that in the same way. And people aren't going to radio or television for their cues like they used to. And those things used to determine what you heard and saw outside, even when it came down to the music videos, right? Like, music videos dictated what we wore. You know what I'm saying? Like, people were wearing clothing, you know what I'm saying, the shades, whether it be hairstyles or whatever, based on the cues that they saw from music videos. So the music was going to follow suit. And since those things aren't as evident and as in your face, it can't be quantified in that same way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a good thing though, because like I don't want everything to just be heard everywhere in the same stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have the internet. To me, you have the internet, you have the club, and you have the streets. And I feel like stuff is different amongst those three. Like, NBA Youngboy is probably one of the most streamed artists of this generation for real. And I don't really hear NBA Youngboy in the streets, but his streaming numbers are crazy. The teenagers love him. The college students, they still love him. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, NBA Youngboy is doing numbers, but I don't hear him in a club. I don't hear him in spaces that I'm in, and that's fine. It doesn't mean he's not popping. He's getting it somewhere. You know what I'm saying? There's people listening. Yeah. Those are not inflated numbers. I really think he has a strong fan base because I know Youngins are listening to him. When I go to these football games and they're coming out to that, they play the DJ spinning at these parks here. I'm in Florida, so football games is kind of different here. They be having DJs out there, and I see the kids' reaction or the teenagers' reactions when they hear Youngboy.
It's real.
It's real. That doesn't translate in a club setting, at least where I'm going. I don't know how the other spots are, but the places I go to, we're not hearing that. We're not. Yeah. It's just like a lot of stuff where in different spaces not being heard, and it's kind of interesting when we look at that, because a lot of people say, we don't hear so and so outside, so that means not popping. Nah, it's so many ways of how you consume music now that we can't just hold one artist to it like that, because I don't hear, besides Nokia, I don't really hear like Drake's new records out in the club or whatever, but I've been in the streets and heard people playing records off that album, so to say it's not heard. My homeboy just sent me a video out there in Bama and they knocking that song. So it's just like, I guess it just kind of depends where you at, your age group. and really the type of spots, like
Yeah, and the different demos got their individual artists. I think also we're used to a time where hip hop was kind of for a certain demo, where hip hop is kind of for every demo now, but you have hip hop artists within the genre that actually serve other demos. Nobody wants to listen to what their parents are listening to or what, what I'm saying, their big brother might be listening to, even at this point. NBA Youngboy is for the young artists. I think when what was the not artist audience, excuse me. I think when that XXL cover, and I say this all the time, that 2016 XXL cover, I feel like changed everything. We had Savage on there, Lil Yachty on there, and Lil Yachty, he made a point to say, like, yo, I'm the king of the teens. Like, I make music for the young rap listener. I'm not trying to really appease the older hip hop listener. Same thing with Uzi. I remember Uzi went on Hot 97 with Ebro and Rosenberg. They tried to get him to rap over Gangstar's Mass Appeal. He's like, I don't rap over this old shit. And people weren't doing that before. And I think that class kind of told the young people, like, yo, we got our own thing going on within this hip hop thing. And I think it's been going in that arena ever since. And NBA Youngboy is I think he is the shining example of that, where you can be extremely successful with having that niche demographic that is overly supporting you.
yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
it's just certain places for different music, certain demos, and I don't want people to think just because you don't hear it in your space that it's not being heard nowhere. There's
Yeah.
places for everything.
Yeah.
And
Everybody got access to everything. So that, I mean,
I'm not gonna lie,
that,
the places I go to, I don't want to hear NBA YoungBoy or a lot of this other stuff that is being heard. That's not where I'm. That's I like places that cater to the women. I go out
yeah.
that element. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like the most stuff that I hear in the club is not the stuff I'm gonna listen to in the confines of my home. But when you drinking or whatever, and something hitting you, you may be feeling it at that time, but you're not gonna get in your car ride to it. You're not gonna listen to it at home. It's a place. This is a time and place for everything, and that's the beauty of this music shit. But I just always in this generation of debates with music, I always hated the who we don't hear outside stuff. And then, I have to counter that with certain artists that are great in their own right that we didn't hear outside in the club either. It doesn't mean that they're bad
Mhm.
artists. It just means their music didn't penetrate that type of arena. Like it's cool. Jay-Z's my favorite artist of all time. Me growing up, I wasn't hearing Jay-Z in the club like that. Unless, you have the DJs that go to the same, we going into New York, and they'll play like Jay-Z PSA, and then they'll probably play like another J record, like Give It To Me, and then they'll go into like Oh Boy by Cameron, and just
Yeah.
like the typical We Fly High by Jim Jones, like the typical
Right,
what
right.
you think is with the New York sound or whatever. So, and being in the South. So it's just like I don't know how it is. Different regions is different, but
Dr.
uh
Love with the super chat says, shout out to Soldier, godfather of the YouTube rappers. Yeah, Soldier Boy is the godfather of the young niggas. Thumbs up in the chat. And speaking of young rappers and generational rap, if you will, Andre 3000, Lauryn Hill, and Jadakiss all turned 50 years old this week, man. And, I think it's a very interesting thing, the fact that, Jadakiss and Andre 3000 are the same age, born on the same day. Lauren is like one day behind them, but Andre and Jada are like polar opposites when it comes to what we view as an MC, if you will, and what they're held for, in their greatness. They're both group members, and they're both two guys who have been pulled out of their groups and been individualized in the top 5, top 10 type of sense. I want to give Jadakiss his flowers because, we give, Lauren and Andre their flowers, and we're going to give them theirs too. But Jadakiss, man, his level of consistency over a duration of time, and I don't know if you guys checked out that Locks Red Bull freestyle that just dropped. What was that, yesterday, the day before, man? Jada's spitting, man. And, I know people always come with Jada on the whole, you don't have a classic album thing or whatever, but to be this nice for this long and continue to be able to come with witty, and dope punchlines year after year, 30 years in the game, 50 years old. I mean, it's not easy. And I think that Jada, he's one of those rare guys where he doesn't have to change up his flow, his style, his approach. His style fits with everything. His voice fits with everything. I don't think I've ever heard Jadakiss on the record where I was like, he doesn't sound right on here. And not only is it a thing where he fits on everything, like he doesn't even have to change up his style too much to fit on anything. And I think it's really dope, man. And Jadakiss, even though he's in that, I don't want to say top 5 conversation because I don't feel like he's top 5. When we talk about him with the greats, I don't think that he ever gets placed rightfully because it's hard to place somebody like him. He's the guy that has the longevity. He's the guy that you go for bars. Now, he may not be the guy that you go for when it comes to a body of work. And I think that it's a testament to what people weigh heavier on when it comes to this hip hop thing.
You know, for me, I always say Jadakiss doesn't have a bad verse. I can't think of a bad verse by Jadakiss.
Can't either.
Still, and I've been on record saying that, and I stand by that. Jadakiss, I've never heard a bad verse from him ever. Whether it's a feature, whether it's an album, and I think Jadakiss is victim of not being the superstar to people's eyes because I really don't think he makes bad albums. I really don't.
Me either.
You know, so I mean, how his stuff is defined, I really think if you go back and listen to Jada's work, you know, especially the album that have like Time's Up and Why on it and all that on there, I think you could really listen to the album from beginning to end. I just think he's victim of the marketing schemes and, you know, not being held up and propped up mainstream wise. But I think Kiss actually is one of those artists that if you need to tag an artist to be dependent on to give you a dope verse or whatever, that's the guy who will never let you down. You know,
he's a rapper's rapper for sure. And, you know, even in that battle arena, I know I talk about all the time on this show, you know, the battle between him and Siegel. Because to me, while him and Siegel, when that battle was going on, that was more entertaining to me than the Jay-Z and Nas thing. Because these guys were going for it. And it was raw. And I think Siegel is one of the most talented MCs that doesn't get talked about either. But Jada took that L when it came to Siegel, but I think it's partly because he didn't take Siegel as serious as he should have. I go back and listen to when he was rhyming over the, what was it? It was you guys will get me in the chat, when he said, I'm rhyming over a disco beat. I went back and listened to that. He killed that shit. And the only reason why it probably didn't connect in the same way that, you know, Siegel's connection is because he chose to go on one of those beats and not really take that part of it serious. Because at the time, Jada's up here, Siegel's here. You know what I'm saying? And I think that he kind of played around with that. But when it came to 50 Cent, he got right. And Checkmate is, in my personal opinion, one of the most lethal diss records of its time, man. And not to mention that one with Problem Child, too. Like, so Jada has proven that he can do these things on all arenas. What were you going to say?
I was about to say Miss Jackson, the record to 50, that was hard too.
Yeah.
Yeah, was hard too.
Yeah, Jadakiss and Styles too, but Jada going at 50, man, that was some epic stuff, man. And Kiss of Death was hard too. What's y'all favorite Jadakiss song? I want to see that in the chat. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Thumbs up in the chat. But yeah, man, he is, you know, we always talk about Geminis and, you know, what they mean in hip hop. You got Kanye West as a Gemini. You got Tupac as a Gemini. You got, you know, Andre, Lauryn Hill. I think Biggie's there too. But they all have these similarities. And Biggie's a little different than most Geminis. But I think that Biggie and Jada are way different than their counterparts when we talk about those Geminis. Like a Kanye he has some Tupac traits, you know what I mean? And they have Andre traits and they have Lauren traits. You can make those correlations there. But Jada and Biggie are different. And Jada, I don't know where to put Jada when it comes to an all-time list. I don't. He's that dope. I think Jada and LL Cool J are probably the toughest MCs to rank.
Yeah, and then one
For
thing about
totally different reasons.
and that's what I say it's just product of like just marketing and try to scope what you think the idea of a superstar was in his realm, because Jada could do everything that pop rappers could do. He could hop on records for the ladies. He could hop on a record in the club. He can give you the bars. He's with the streets. Like Jada can give you all of those records because there's records of each of those realms that he tapped into when they battled Dipset. So you know it's
Mm-hmm.
there. It's just like I said, I just think he was just subject to like how do we the idea of the look of what a superstar is going to be and what those records sound like and all of that. I just think that's really what it is, man. And you know, Jada is just for some joints he's just what was a good hook away or a catchy hook away from a #1 song if he really wanted to, you know.
But did we
And
even want that from him? You know what I mean?
no,
Like,
I
knock
don't think he
yourself out,
wanted
I
that
guess.
for himself because if he ever wanted that, you know, he could tap that bag. I just really think Jada just stayed in his lane, man, and that's not bad. I really think him and Styles are underrated MCs.
Yeah.
Um,
I think him, Styles, and Redman, these are people who could have
definitely.
done some things in that crossover lane, but they chose to service their hip hop niche. And I think that when you have people like that, we gotta appreciate them. You know what I'm saying? You gotta appreciate the Jadas, the Styles, the Ghostface even had his opportunity to do those things too. Redman and those guys super service their hip hop niche, man. And you know, you guys are in for a treat today because I'm gonna give Andre 3000 some flowers, and I'm gonna touch on an Eminem topic today. No, I said I wasn't
Before
gonna
you
do
start giving flowers, I do want to give a big shout out because we did Rhymes and Reasons. We had LP, we had Mad Max jump in. Things got passionate. It was dope, but we all kept it hip hop. And I appreciate them brothers for joining because
that.
it
Dope
was lit,
stuff.
it was a cool conversation. And I know it was the majority of the episode was all Joey, but when I say everybody on there was getting their shit off and it was a good show, I appreciate them jumping in and shout out to them if both of them are on. Definitely.
That's what's up. Yeah. Shout out to LP. Shout out to Mad Max. You guys are always in the building, always showing love. Now, yeah, Andre 3000 celebrated 50th as well. Recently put out a piano album. Outkast is being inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Now, I know I have spoken a lot about Andre and, you know, where he fits in these rap conversations and where other people put him in these rap conversations. I will say this, man. Not only did Outkast put Atlanta on the map, and I am forever grateful to how they did it, when they did it, and just the impact that they've had on the city and hip hop music altogether. They made me view hip hop differently. And Andre had a lot to do with that from not only just a lyrical standpoint, but just from a, production standpoint. I don't think he gets enough flowers for, just the level of cohesion when it comes to his soundscape and how those Outkast albums were put together. Now, I'm not saying that Big Boy didn't have to do with it because he did, and I think he should get his flowers on that as well. But by their words, at that time, or the Kumana time, if you will, the roles were Andre was the guy that was in the studio with Mr. DJ and and Organized Noise as well, in and out of Stankonia, or what is now Stankonia. And Big Boy was the family man. He would get some of the records that, Dre and them were putting together, and Big Boy would be the guy to put the hooks on them. But if we're talking about the soundscape and, just the vision for like a Spodio Doublelicious or a vision for the framework of a Rosa Parks and things of that nature, Andre has a lot to do with that. And, you could tell that level of cohesion and that way of thinking, even when you listen to The Love Below. And it might not be a rap album per se, but I think what we hold Andre high for is, his musical quirks and the fact that, him and everybody else over there at the dungeon, they know how to make music. And his thought process is very, and no pun intended, his thought process is very ahead of the curve when it comes to that. And I think that we wish that we could get more raps from him, and we hold him high based on, what we want from him, as opposed to, just giving the flowers where they need to be. And he's an incredible producer, an incredible artist, overall artist. And he's showing us that now. He's showing us that with the piano album. He's showing us that with the flute album, whether you get into that or not. But he's flexing his artistic wings, if you will. And those are the things that we should hold him high for. I don't think Andre's ever asked to be on a top 10 MC list, but clearly he cares about being an artist. And as an artist and as an overall force in hip hop and making sure that hip hop at that time and even beyond just wasn't mundane and sounded like the times, man, I got to give Andre great thanks for his input and his contribution to this hip hop shit, not just the South, but just music in general.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes down to Andre, I don't get too hooked on the want of wanting to hear new music from him as much as other people. I'm like, yeah, if it is, that's good for hip hop. I would love to hear a new Outkast record, but I'm not disappointed if it doesn't happen. I guess
Yeah.
like when people get hyped up when they see certain things happening, like, oh, is he coming with a new album because he drops these Easter eggs and he disappoints people, but he doesn't give you ideas that's like the last one when they were talking about like when he released a piano album. Like I said it on Monday's show, on that Monday show. Hey, I don't think it's gonna be what people think it's gonna be. I don't know why people, press it to get disappointed over and over again. I think at this point they're just doing it to themselves. But I'm not really looking forward to another Andre solo. I mean, Andre solo, or just like if he raps again, whatever. I'll be fine if he doesn't, but it's really cool if he does. I think he's brilliant musically, and I think he has a lot of good guest verses as well. Like one of my favorite verses from Andre was on Drake's album. I think it was on Take Care. It was on the Take Care album, and there was a verse he had on there that was pretty dope. It was one of those Drake's album. I think it was the Take Care album. He had a verse. Yeah, he had a verse that was pretty dope.
It was the her song. Shit, it'll come to me in a second. People say it in the chat. Y'all already know what it is. What is your favorite Andre verse in the chat?
Yeah, his feature game is strong now, but
you know what? It's I got a few, and I guess I would have to separate them by, features and Outkast records. Now, my favorite Andre verse, I guess, from the Outkast era. My favorite Andre verse on an Outkast song. That's tough. I will say this, and y'all may have heard me say this before. I do think that his Rosa Parks verse is very understated. Yes. I think that to take that theme and to take that approach, it kind of makes you feel like what Mos Def did on Respiration when he was personifying the city itself in his verse. And Mos Def and Andre do those personification things a lot. Like even when you think about International Players Anthem, that whole video is centered around how he approached that song. He was able to basically paint a picture and create the landscape and the soundscape for what those visuals would look like, and he does a great job of doing that. He did that when he was in, Outkast as a collective. He did that with his features. I think that's why his features stand out so much. Somebody said his verse on Geminis stands out. That was actually going to be my first pick, the first verse on Geminis, actually. Beautiful verse.
And that's really like the thing about with 3000 is like the guest verses is what make people anticipate of hearing a project with him again or something like that. I'm just like, you got to treat him how you treat every other artist you hear a guest verse. Just enjoy it for what it is, because you keep on getting yourself disappointed when hearing some future 3000 music. I mean, you're doing it to yourself at this point. I can care less, man. Like at this point now, I can care less. Like he has.
You're that kind of fan that lost interest.
Yeah, man. It's just like I'm not getting disappointed over rappers that don't want to rap no more. Just like whatever. Like we'll appreciate whatever your old work is, but I just care less. If you don't want to rap, cool. Like I'm paying attention.
I will say this. I not to interrupt you, but I agree with the fact that if your heart's not in it, I don't want to hear you do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I feel like there has been a point in his career where, as a listener, it feels like, he might not be as in it as he, once was. And, you don't want to hear your greats like that. I'm going to do this. For each Outkast album, I'll give my favorite Andre verse. Southern Playalistic. Southern Playalistic. That's a difficult one because you know what? I might go. Damn. I might go Get Up, Get Out verse. No. Claiming True is my favorite Andre verse on Southern Playlisting. Claiming True verse. Yes, that's my favorite verse on Southern Playlisting. Now, ATLians, he's doing some rapping on ATLians. His second verse, well, his first verse, but the second verse on Over the Woods. Aquemini, which is the most difficult one because I think it's their best album by far. I'm gonna go Art of Storytelling 2.
Okay.
Stankonia, it feels like cheating to say Bonds Over Bad Dad. Let me skip that and I'm gonna go Humble Mumble. And then The Love Below. I don't even have to go there because it's not a lot of rapping on there.
Yeah, not a lot of rapping.
It's not a lot. But my favorite song on The Love Below, I'll do that. Favorite song on The Love Below is She Lives in My Lap. I think that's the best song that he's ever recorded, in my personal opinion. And best feature verse, you know what, man? I'm gonna go Royal Flush. Big Boy song featuring Raekwon and Andre.
Okay, that's a good one. I mean, he has so many ones, like you said, international.
That's a great one.
Yeah, you got Elevators. You got. I mean, well, that's Outkast work.
Elevators is crazy. Elevators is a standout. If somebody picked Elevators for ATLians, I ain't mad at that at all.
But I want to say guest feature. Like I said, you have the International Players Anthem. You got I named one earlier, the joint on the Take Care album. I like his feature on man, I just had it in my mind.
No, we're gonna get this right. We're gonna get this right.
I just had it in my head.
Somebody in the chat got it. Let's see.
I just had it in my mind. It was
The Real Her. Yeah.
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 Okay. Yeah. I like that verse. But there was another one, man. It was really dope.
Andre got a lot, man.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he does. When it comes to me, I'll name it. But he has a lot of guest verses that are dope. And I think that's the reason why people anticipate those solo records from him. Hollywood Divorce.
I like the Hollywood Divorce verse.
That's what it was.
Wayne on there and everything.
I mean, I like Wayne's verse on Hollywood Divorce too, but
yeah, Wayne showed up. He knew Dre was there. Big Boy was there. Snoop was there too, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Before we move on to the Absol Joey thing, that's going to be fun to talk about too. Lauryn Hill. Lauryn Hill celebrates 50. I know that many people, say Lauryn got one album. I want to give Lauryn her flowers too. If we're just talking about, if I dropped in from outer space and I heard a bunch of rappers rap, Lauryn Hill is hands down the best female rapper I've ever heard. Now, does she have the catalog to boot it to be, fair to the other, female MCs we've seen over time? No, I don't know if that's fair to match those things up, but I do understand why she's held so high as an artist. And she kind of has that same Andre argument in the sense where we view her level of greatness as an overall artist. I do think Doo-Wop, that thing, is a 10 out of 10 record. I think it is a top 50 hip-hop song all time. If you want to talk about its ability to be a timeless classic, pull in the old with the new, be a hit record, have substance, have musicality, have lyrical skill, a message to men and women, young people, like it's a 10 out of 10. And not a lot of people can say that they've made a record that is at that level. And I understand why Lauryn's held so high, because her level of talent is just otherworldly. I wish we could have gotten more from her too, but it is what it is. We got what we got, and and we got to appreciate what we got.
Yeah, the thing about Lauryn Hill, why it's so easy to separate her solo, is because I feel like she actually exceeded the Fugees. I don't think 3000 exceeds Outkast. I don't think he's bigger than Outkast. I do
No.
think Lauryn is bigger than the Fugees though. And I feel like her solo work for that album was amazing. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a great album. We can't take that away from her. And this has been a person that's been highly anticipated off that one album and really have fans from that one album from generations. And it's kind of a gift, but it kind of makes you wish that you did hear more bodies of work from these type artists. But I'm not begging for it no more. It's like it's so much um going on and has moved past that I'm not even anticipating anymore. But if I hear it, cool. I'm not mad at it.
No,
But it's like
we not to cut you off, but yeah, we do what ifs on here, and we were gonna do a what if for NWA's Niggas for Life. I should have put in a what if here. What if Lauryn Hill puts out a solo album in the year 2000, 2001, where the neo soul, era is going on? What does that look like? You think, or what does that sound like?
I don't know. That's one of the things I could truly say I don't know. Um I think the music would have been there, like musically. I think we would have had it there. I don't know if we would have got a part two of Miseducation or if it would have been something new. I really don't know because it's like it's nothing for me to gauge on. It's not like Andre where Andre has a bunch of guest verses and stuff. You kind of can catch the waves of where he was at with his
Yeah,
stuff. Like you're only rating Lauren on what her last album was. I really don't know what that possibly could have sounded like or what mode musically she was in at that time. So I don't know.
Jermaine
That's
Johnson with Super
that
Chat
was one
says,
of
I
those
hate it, walk it out. Dre's bars made me like it. I didn't like Dre's verse on there. Go ahead, my bad.
back then. No, that was people like that verse. It wasn't.
Yeah,
It's not one of my favorites, but people actually like that verse. I like his verse on Throw Some D's remix more than that one. But
yeah.
um, I mean, people like it. I like his verse on the original party joint with Beyonce. I
Oh
like
yeah,
that. Yeah.
3,000 degrees. Yeah, yeah. His verse is dope on there. But I mean, Lauren, I see what you're saying. I feel what you're saying because it's hard to really gauge just based on artists that kind of went away. I'm thinking that maybe it would sound like what was going on at that time. And if we kind of think about what Jill Scott, think about what Erykah Badu was making at the time, Music Soul Child, India Irie, I do feel like she did kind of not pave the way for Erykah in any way because Erykah was there, before and during that, if you will. But she kind of helped pave the way for that neo soul landscape to really flourish in that time period. And I feel like she wouldn't have been hit with the pressures to make a, I guess, hit record, if you will, during that time. I think she would have been able to make something soulful that fit into what was going on at the time. Angie Stone was around at the time and stuff too. It would have been great, I think, but again, when you have such a successful album, the pressures are there to duplicate that level of success more than it is to duplicate that level of excellence, if you will.
Here's the thing about Lauren though. I don't really consider her neo soul.
Yeah, yeah. I feel you. I don't really
I feel like
either.
Erykah Badu. Yeah, I feel like Erykah Badu pushed the envelope more on what is neo soul more than Lauren did. I think what Lauren was doing is like a mix of that hip hop and R&B, and it had some Fugees elements in it. But I don't think that was really neo soul. Like what I consider what Angie Stone, Erykah Badu, um, uh, even India Arie at that time. Uh, don't let me forget her name. Jill Scott. What
Yeah,
they were doing, I consider that is like neo soul, and we can't say things like Lauryn Hill's a one hit wonder because she had it just is it ain't worth it. She had doo wop. She had it's so
X
like,
Factor's on there.
it's
Yeah,
like miseducation. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Um,
Nothing
I
even
just
matters. Yeah.
it's just kind of interesting how people have held Lauryn Hill and Andre 3000 so high just based off their really minimum amount of work as bodies of work as solo artists. And it's just like I could say I appreciate what they did because the stuff is timeless, what Outkast did, and it's timeless what she did with the Fugees or Miseducation, but I don't put them up on a list of whatever, and that's fine, bro. It's like it doesn't have to be that way, but I'm not about to keep on anticipating these people to drop music now in 2025. If they do, great. If it's even better, if it's great. But if they don't, I'm fine.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, because obviously they don't want to. So it's like,
yeah,
you want to get the best of your artists. And if they're not inspired to do so, then, just sit this one out until you're inspired.
yeah.
Now, Absol was inspired to jump out there in this Joey Badass situation. Um, Listen, man, I love Absol so much. One of my favorites from that camp. Actually, for a minute, it's been my favorite, Black Hippy. But I I think that Joey is just doing so much damage over there that people need to chill out, and I don't know. The response didn't really connect with me like that, if you will. Now, am I tripping or was Absol's
No,
response
that shit
connecting
was
like
fire.
that? Let me know in the chat, guys.
It was ass, and I have to keep the same energy like I would for anyone else. And Joey did a good job. He held it down. I didn't I stood by saying I don't think it was a biggest deal as the internet on the podcast made it, but Joey did exactly what he was supposed to do. He held his own. He came with the records. And honestly, I was disappointed in TDE, and I don't like that Kendrick is looked at as the go-to for that because he's no longer TDE, and I don't think that's a good representation to link to Kendrick because he hasn't been on TDE for some years, and these guys, I think it should have, if it was going to be anything, it should have been Rayvon versus Joey. I think Rayvon wasn't bad, and it should have just kept at that. But
Okay.
those other attempts, like Reasons wasn't bad either, but those other attempts like Ass Chike and what's his name, Daylight, and this Ab one was probably the worst. And I like Ab, but it was probably the worst. And I'm just gonna call a spade a spade. There was a lot of missed opportunities in this, and I feel like the one who seized the moment in all of this was Joey, and all he has to do is come with a good body of work or hot single, something to capitalize on the momentum. But the rest of those guys, I mean, it looked bad, bro.
What does this mean for Black Hippy, though? I see somebody in the chat saying
Nothing.
that Black Hippy is washed. Unfortunately, I mean,
It
does
nothing
what
as
does
far.
that
This
mean
is not.
anything?
Yeah, this is not a representation of what Black Hippy could do musically, man. I just feel like these guys, first of all, App missed the moment on this. You did the Red Bull freestyle, you did all that stuff and everything. And now the water is kind of like settled that Joey is the winner of this. App came out with this and it wasn't fire. And I think that's what was kind of disappointing to me. But it's like missed opportunities, man. These guys be wanting looks, and when those looks be there, they don't deliver. Joey delivered. You know what I'm saying? And
I hear this lyrical argument, not to interrupt you, but I see people in
yeah.
the chat saying, like, Ab won lyrically. I heard the same thing with Daylight and everything. And it's like, again, when we talking about records, and especially this records, they gotta connect, man. And
They
this
got
is
to.
one thing that Mickey Fax said initially when this thing happened. It was right when Joey did the Red Bull joint. He was like, Daylight, in your response, this ain't the time to get complicated. Super, you know what I mean? You have to connect. And I will say this about diss records, and we saw it with Not Like Us and all of that. And I think that Not Like Us kind of confused some people and made people feel like they need to make a bop. If there's a time to ever connect with the record, and like we were just talking about Doo Wop from Lauryn Hill, that's a connecting record.
Mm-hmm.
Diss records have to connect. Period. Like there is no successful diss record or no successful win in a diss record if you're not connecting. These jabs have to connect. Jermaine Johnson with the super chat says, "Nah, that wasn't it. We still love Ab though." Yeah. And
you saying the record is ass is not saying because I'm the same guy on the last show that said I thought that Joey was gonna lose to Daylight. I went on record and I said that. I don't think he's gonna beat Daylight. And what Daylight do? He shit the bed too. So it's like we don't have time for all the super deep. We have to read for Easter eggs and all that stuff. This is not a Marvel movie. Just rap, bro. Just rap.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to try to dissect the line of what you think is going back, listening to it 5 times, looking at different think pieces and TikToks to try to figure it out. You got to connect. And Joey, he won. He rapped.
Yeah.
It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Like,
and again,
I want him to
I hear people saying that, Joey wasn't lyrical and this and that. I mean, he was lyrical enough. Again, this is about what are things that connect when it comes to making a record, right? Flow, voice, production, and all you need is those catchy bars, man. Like I remember the OGs would talk about, that whole Cool Mo D and LL Cool J battle, and they say lyrically Cool Mo D beat him, but it's like, nah, you listen to the Ripper, Jack the Ripper, it's in your face. Like, it's what it is. Like, yes, you could go back and listen to the lyrical stuff that Kool Moe Dee was doing, which was great. But Kool Moe Dee himself will probably tell you he didn't win that battle because that's not what wins battles. It's just not. Like, what Ice Cube did on No Vaseline was not lyrical. It was surgical. And, Joey knew how to win. He did it. And I mean, shit, man. When he pulled with that last one, man, where he was able to get Lux on there, man. Like he didn't even need Lux on there. He was killing before that
That was
even
a good
happened.
record. I actually
And
like
when
that.
he did that, it was like, oh man, it's over. It is over. It is over. And no disrespect to Rayvon. I'm gonna be honest. I wasn't really aware of Rayvon and his catalog before this. Like you said, these are opportunities. I just don't think he was the matchup for Joey. As far as like his approach. Because I think they had two totally different approaches. One just hit harder than the other, and one might have been a little bit more palatable than the other as well. I'll say that. Maybe because I ain't from out west, I don't feel that his jabs hit as hard, and maybe Joey's jabs were a lot more palatable to my ear than Rayvon's was.
Well, I can see how you say that because Rayvon made the mistake of trying to. It kind of seemed like a reduplicated effort, or not like us, and that stuff is still fresh, bro. You had to approach this differently. Now, I did enjoy the second one though, and I really think that everybody else stepping in on it kind of ruined what that could have materialized into. But like I said, man, Joey packed them up, man, and I like everybody we're talking about. I enjoy everybody's music we talking about, but I just feel like Joey got the best of them, bro. It is what it is. I think we could all be honest here, and even me, because I wasn't seeing Joey winning this, and even I could say Joey won this, bro. We got to start being honest. He out rapped these guys. He didn't overthink it. He rapped. That's
As
what we
somebody, I've been in Joey's corner since the beginning of the year, and even before this, when I heard him coming out with the jabs or whatever, I was like, I like how Joey's coming. But I will even say, I've never heard Joey rap like this. And I'm in full faith at this point that whatever music Joey has coming up, he's going to knock it out the box. But the other part of that is, this is the moment. It's like the slam dunk contest, man. Like, you can go up there and do some crazy dunk, but you miss it the first time, it's not as powerful the second time. And that was my point. That was going to be my point to the Rayvon thing. Like, yeah, your second diss record was better than the first. The first one's got to be the punch. But that goes the same.
I don't think they were whack though. That's one thing I'll say.
Yeah.
Rayvon stuff was whack. I didn't like that he came with that, that West Coast bop one for the first one because, like I said, it's too close coming off the Kendrick stuff. But like overall, man, I'm not mad at what Rayvon did. I'm not at all.
I just don't think that he was the matchup for Joey. And Joey did what you're supposed to do in a situation like that. He didn't act like he was above it. He just cooked. You know what I'm saying? And that's what you're supposed to do. Like, when you're in the playoffs, you could be the number one seed. And I'm not even saying Joey's number one seed with Rayvon, but he does have tenure. But you still got to play those games to the eighth seed. You know what I'm saying? You're not just going to surrender that and just move on to the next round. And what Joey did was he played those games, and I give him that. And
Joey
Rayvon stepped up to the plate.
Yeah, Joey rapped like he's a new guy.
Mm-hmm. Jermaine Johnson with the super chat says, Ether is Nas' least lyrical song, but it connected. Connectivity is everything. And I do think that when it comes to the battle rappers, when you're accustomed to a format where you're not making the songs is an adjustment that puts you at a disadvantage, right? It's like if Floyd Mayweather had to go out there and do mixed martial arts in a fight. You know what I'm saying? Like, he could probably get the hang of it, but he's used to using his hands. And if he's having to go against somebody who is at a certain level that can do both, he's at a disadvantage now. And I do think that is kind of what happens when some of the battle rappers jump into the diss records on wax situation. I think that could have happened to Daylight. It was, I think the beats that he picked were off, in my opinion. Beats could have been a lot better. And yeah, the lack of connectivity.
Yeah, man. And like I said, I like all artists involved, and I don't think
Me too.
none of this kills either or's career because it was on wax. This is lyrical sparring, man, at best. This is lyrical sparring. And well, you know, it could help certain people when it's good. And right now it's in Joey's favor. And those other guys can capitalize and do stuff off of because Rayvon is coming off, you know, a decent project too. And I think this doesn't hurt him, but I'm looking at the people like Ab and Daylight different because, like, I know Daylight's pen is nice, but I don't know how that transforms into him becoming an artist with actually creating bodies of work that is digestible. And I feel like this was a missed opportunity for Ab because you're like one of the sole people at TDE that remained before they signed those newer ones that's still over there. And I feel like there's so many moments that you don't get highlighted. You know, you had the pop-up. Everybody came out with a joint that they had except Ab. He joined the stage. He was there when Kendrick did his diss, but he didn't have a song solo he produced. He's the only one that doesn't have a hit record off there. You know, the last album didn't do so well in people's eyes. He wanted the tour. He got the tour, and I just feel like this would have been a exclamation mark on top of this tour you're doing, and I felt like it could have gave you some momentum and have people actually, you know, get riled up to hear Ab again. I just feel like it was a missed opportunity because I know he can get busy with the pen, but this is to me what happens when rappers overthink stuff that could really be very simple. You know,
well, let's talk about Absol. Let's talk about Absol even jumping in the first place. Why did Absol even have to jump in this? Because he was in the Red Bull cipher, and it almost seemed like, you know, he was already neutral, if you will. Like, did he even have to jump in this?
From my understanding, I think that Red Bull freestyle was recorded way in advance because a line that Joey said about it. So I think it was pre-recorded a long time ago. So I think a lot of people already had heard it before it made it to us. But then on top of that, I just kind of feel he was obligated to you. Like I said, you've been one of the only people that's been on to TDE this whole time. And after a while, I know people are looking at Ab like, all right, bro, he's getting at everybody on TDE. You the longest tenured one over here at TDE for the most part, and you're the wizard with the pen. What are you going to do? You sitting back and let him cook your team? I felt like it was an obligation to it, but it just didn't deliver. It didn't connect to me, man. And it doesn't mean that he's a bad artist. Like I said, I like all these guys. It was whack. I didn't like it.
Is anybody else on TDE obligated, you think, to jump in this situation, or is it just over?
I don't know, man. It just depends if you want to ride for your home team or not. These guys have close relationships, man. If honestly, in a perfect world, Joey would be on a label like TDE. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like when he said TDE, I could see this as an entry for somebody. Like if Joey was a newer rapper, and this is like his entry to make it onto the label. To me, like you battled your way through like the old times, but Joey, you know, he's been around for some time. I don't see that happening, but like I could see Joey belonging in the camp with something like this. You know what I'm saying? But it's just like
the thing that's funny about that, not to interrupt you, is the fact that, you know, we talk about the opportunity and how this was an opportunity for Rayvon. I mean, for Joey to take this time and say, I've done more for your artist than you have, I thought that was just, to me, that was one of the stronger notions on this whole, you know, back and forth, because it's kind of like when Kendrick took the culture vulture approach when it came to Drake, right? Like these are some things that you look back and be like, damn. And then he flipped that even more and was like, should sign you to TD East. It's like, oh wow, yeah, this is over. Jermaine Johnson with the super chat says, it was just great to see good rappers rapping. These vibes, rappers and rage rappers couldn't participate in this. I love it too, man. Because at the end of the day, what battle rap stuff does, or diss records, if you will, it makes people competitive in ways that I'm not sure if our current hip hop landscape is that competitive. Do you feel like artists are trying to make the album of the year? You feel like artists are trying
I
to
think
make a
artists are
doper
trying to make.
album than the next person?
I don't think they're trying to put as much creativity and effort into the album. I think they put more efforts into trying to make an algorithm or trying to do something to get in certain spaces of certain chart position or something like that. It's not necessarily, I think, them giving their best efforts on delivering the best projects that could be made, you know. And I feel like that conveys. Like I said, I think all of these artists I was in here has the ability to make good albums. And
That's
usually
what
with
they're
something like
trying
this,
to do, though.
yeah. And usually something like this, when these guys are really kind of like friends behind the scenes for the most part, is it should have been like a still sharp and still thing, and everybody could go off and capitalize off it. But it looks like, you know, Joey got the better end of this. But the difference with album making now is like I really feel like it's just not like I said, one of the biggest things that's missing from album making now is the producer. You know, a producer really guiding and working with the artist in a collaborative effort. And I feel like we're about to get that with this new Clipse album. I feel like this is where you're gonna see what happens when you have great beats and great production and artist and producer working together. I feel like that's gonna come with this new Clipse album. But I feel like that
The
was the
new
depth.
stuff that we saw or heard from this Clips album, yeah,
Good.
sounds
Sounds
good.
good. So I think that's the thing that's been missing from great albums is just the cohesion with the producers really working and collaborating with the artists. Like we have beat makers that are producing albums, and it's just like you could tell some of them probably wasn't in the studio at the same time with this or whatever. It's just album flows be out of whack. It's like they're chasing something, but it's not to make a great album. That's what it seems like.
This is gonna be an
Um,
interesting album, the new Clips album, because again, you have people who are familiar with working with each other, and I'm sure they're happy about getting back into the lab. Hopefully, it doesn't turn into something, revisionist, whether it be lyrically or from a production standpoint. I do think it puts a lot of pressure on Pharrell as a producer, but again, he's done this before. You're an all-time great. My biggest question mark with this Clips album has always been, is Chad in the fold? I mean, but again, that's me as a Neptune fan, and
uh,
I know what Pharrell sounds like, and I know what Pharrell and Chad sound like, and I hope as a fan that the four of them are locked in. But if it's not the four of them, I like what Pharrell was doing on "It's Almost Dry." I think
Yeah,
that
I was about to say I don't
there are
think he
moments
needs
there.
Chad. I think Chad's give you the. I think there's a Neptune sound and there's a Pharrell sound. You know, I really
Yeah.
do separate the two, like
Oh yeah.
because you know what a Neptune sound like, but I also know what a Pharrell produced track sounds like, and I really think he don't need Chad to do this. Would it be dope if they were involved, if he was involved in it? Yeah, but I don't think he needs that for this album to be something. It's just I just need it. Like first of all, Pusha hasn't delivered anything trash to me in these last few projects. He hasn't. They have flown under the radar because the subject matter seems to be similar to it, but I honestly think every project Pusha drops gets better and better. But I think this Clips album is gonna be dope, and who better has that has that chemistry with them more than than Pharrell.
I agree. LP with the super chat says this generation. Oh, hold on. Said this generation is 0 for 3 on the post battle songs. Port Antonio, the end, this AB song all feel weird. They making loser versions of Last Real Nigga Alive. Hilarious. Yo, speaking of Pharrell, and we'll jump back on the Joey topic and kind of wrap that up. I was listening to In My Mind, Pharrell's first solo album. And I've said this, I don't know if I've said this in our chat or on the show, but I think the Speaker Box is one of those albums that I wish I could go back and rework. I might do like a little, I might do a video on these things, like songs that should have been cut, should have been moved, should have been bonuses, and move a certain album around and it becomes classic. I think that there were great, great moments on Pharrell's In My Mind. And when you talk about knowing the difference between a Pharrell produced track and a Neptune produced track. I think that was the first time we start hearing just Pharrell produced tracks on In My Mind. And there are moments on there that are super high, but I think what Pharrell tried to do on that album, I think he tried to do everything. I think he tried to show the rap stuff. I don't think Can I Have It Like That should have been the first single. I think that he should have leaned more on the That Girl sound, the number one sound, those things, as opposed to coming with the rap thing, because, you know, as a rapper, Pharrell has his moments, but he's not a strong rapper in the sense where you want to hit 3 verses
Yeah,
from him.
dope joints though, man. I feel like when
No.
Pharrell, it wasn't bad. You know what I'm
Pharrell's
saying?
good for one verse. You know what I mean? He can go in there like he did on Move That Dope, or like he did
That was
on
a
Drop
good
It Like
verse.
It's Hot, or like he did on Mr. Me Too. Like, he's great for that. But
Yeah.
once you get more than one verse, it kind of tapers off. And that's why when we talk about being a solo MC, those things matter. Like, yeah, you have somebody who might sound incredible on one verse that's cutting through, but you got to keep people's attention for verse number 2 and verse number 3. And it takes a special type of MC to be able to do that. I mean, even one of my favorite MCs, Q-Tip. I don't feel like Q-Tip even mastered that. I mean, we got so used to hearing Q-Tip's dynamic with him and Fife. I feel like he kind of did that the best on Tribe's first album, and Vibrant Thing. But yeah, I mean, it's a thing to be a solo artist or a solo MC. But I would like to go back and rework In My Mind and turn it into a classic, if you will.
But do we look at Pharrell for big rap moments as like him as an
No, we
artist?
don't. That's
You know
what
what
I'm
I'm saying?
saying. I think
I
he
put him in that
leans
same
away.
box. I put him in the
No,
box
I
with
agree.
Free, Dr. Dre, you know, those producer rappers, Timbaland, those type guys. Like, you
I
know, I don't.
agree. But
Yeah,
when it comes to the singing part, though, I think we do. Like the Nerd catalog, and when he's able to, like a song like Angel on there is great. That song, Young Girl with Jay-Z, great. Like, he has some
with
great
Snoop on
moments.
the album too. That was pretty
Oh
dope.
yeah, song That Girl, great.
Yeah,
Like, he has some great moments on there. And I even think the Show You How to Hustle song, the last song on there, there's a version that the Re-Up Gang did on their mixtape. That should have been the one on there, and with one Pharrell verse. Like, that beat didn't need 3 Pharrell verses. But I don't want to get too, nerdy on that. I do need to do a segment where I'm like reworking albums that, could have been classic but kind of missed certain marks. But yeah, man, Joey, speaking of classics and albums, I think Joey's about to come with some fire. I think that the
I do
next
too.
Joey Badass album, this is an opportunity. And we have seen, even with Kendrick, we've seen the people who've been around for a while can elevate still. If you would have told me 3 years ago that Kendrick's career is about to elevate further than it's ever been, I'd have been like, nah, Kendrick's probably reached his peak. But it's been proven that you can do this 10 years in now. And that's not
I'm
an odd thing to do. And I think this is an opportunity for Joey to do that. Now, is he going to be selling out arenas like Kendrick's doing right now? It's not what I'm saying. But he could probably do more than he's ever done before.
Yeah, Joey still has legs on his career, and you know the beauty behind Joey is it's not like he's an artist that was washed up. It's just like he just disappeared from doing music a little bit, and then
Yeah,
he has little things he released or whatever, but it wasn't like he washed up. You know,
right.
um, it's like it's certain artists that just like they was giving you some good stuff, and you know you got to understand like a lot of people don't talk about this and lump him in, and it's because of this battle. But Joey was blog era. You know what I'm saying? He
Yeah.
came out at the same time as as the Kendricks, the Drakes, the Wale's, all of them. He was blog era.
He was
You
just
know,
super young.
he was one of the dope dudes of the blog era, and it wasn't like he fell off like Wiz. Wiz didn't fall off. You know what I'm saying? Guys just go do other stuff and come back to it. So I think that works in his benefit. And I
Yeah.
do think after this, you're gonna get a nice album. Because
Yeah.
I actually think Joey has the ability to make good songs. You know what I'm saying? Can I hear him on songs with R&B hooks? Yep. Can I hear him on songs with just like that could be heard on radio? Yeah. I think he has a voice. I think he has a swag. I think he has a style. I think he actually could be an all around artist, and I think he's nice with the pen. So I don't see him having a bad body of work from here. We'll see.
Yeah, I listen. Joey is my. If I'm gonna make a bold prediction, like we picking who going to the Super Bowl, man. Like I'm picking Joey to make the best hip hop album of 2025. That's my bold prediction for Joey.
I think he's gonna make a good project work, and that's all I want after this. Like
Yeah,
without that, like I said, this is cool. Whatever, it was good verbal sparring, but I want that body of work. You know what I'm saying?
it kind of lets you know where he's at right now. And it's kind of like I don't want to say like mixtapes, but what features were supposed to be, and I guess they still are to a degree. It kind of lets you know where that artist is in that moment and what's leading up to it. Like to go back to Outkast, I remember leading up to Stankonia, the features that Big Boy was on, he was murdering everything. And those things get you excited about what the artist has coming next. And hearing Joey rap like this, and like I said, I've never heard Joey rap at this level before, it does get me excited about, what's on the other side of this and what he's currently creating. And I mean, stuff that he's made all year has been dope. And I
I think
mean,
Joey's hungry right now, so why I have optimism about him making a good project, because I can hear the hunger, and I kind of feel like he knows it's wide open, and this is a moment he can capitalize on. And I doubted him versus these guys he was going against, like Daylight or even Soul. I thought once some guys got into it, it was going to be a wrap, but he showed me wrong. And the same platform where I denounced that I said he was going to lose is the same platform I'm going to say he got it. I got to be
well, that's
honest.
very big of you, sir. That's what I'm talking about. That's what
It is. I mean, all of
it's
us heard the music, man. We can't deny that shit.
You know what? I said that I didn't have faith in Kendrick beating Drake because I didn't think that he was going to match the frequency and the amount of records that Drake would come with. And I was wrong. I didn't expect Kendrick to drop 4 songs in 4 days.
That's one thing that from the beginning I said Kendrick was gonna win. When I
Yeah.
was having debates, I know I wasn't on here around the beginning of that to talk to you guys about it, but that was something like in the people I spoke to, whatever, I always said that Kenny was gonna have it because I thought he was gonna be able to pop in a bag that I didn't think Drake was gonna hop into, because we already kind of seen where Drake's cards were and what he could do, and all he could do is just reduplicate those efforts. I think that was going to be the shining moment for Kendrick, is that it's going to be a bag that you're going to see from him that you haven't seen before in a certain capacity. And I was right.
Yeah, and I did say that if he was going to win, he was going to have to out-rap him. But I didn't know that he was going to come with so many records so quick. He was extremely strategic with it.
I was about that too. I didn't expect that one. I don't think nobody did. If anybody said they expected it to go that way, they're a lie.
What I will say about Joey too, before we move on to this Eminem topic, I like the production Joey's choosing, and not just the style of production, but just the fact that he's picking good production. And I think that lets you know from an album making perspective that he's probably going to come with some quality product. That's usually the biggest, and I hate to say this, for the New York MCs out there, in this era, I feel like that's been the biggest question mark. Will the production connect? And not if it's bad production or good production. You could hear some beats and be like, yo, that's dope, whatever, but it's about it connecting. And I think that the production that Joey is choosing currently is connecting.
I think he needs to switch it up. Have a little bit of what your essence is, your style is your style, and just switch it up. Make it something a little bit that's palatable for, though that's how you really garner people. Like, I really think if he stays in the bag, but then he, you have some more like records that kind of appeals more to outside
I think he did that with the last one though. Not the one with Loaded Lux, but the one after that, where he had the hit him up, get money thing going on.
But you got to make something for everybody a little bit. Unless you want to appeal to who then that's different. But I feel like if you want to get to that next level for Joey and what that will look like, you're gonna have to make some stuff that's more palatable to outside of your niche. You know what I'm saying? And he's dope. I think creatively he's there, and I honestly think him acting and his character and whatever, it kind of helped his creativity in music. I really
Of
do
course.
think so.
Yeah. I think reading the script and having to execute on the script definitely helps you as a writer, you know.
Yeah.
American Music Awards was the other night, and it's funny, man. Like people keep coming to I keep seeing this topic, and I didn't even think about this topic when it happened, but the internet seems to be in a roar about the fact that Eminem won favorite hip hop artist over Kendrick Lamar. And many people will tell you that Kendrick has had probably one of the most dominant
Mhm.
years in hip hop history, definitely in recent history. What did you think about Eminem winning the American Music Awards over Kendrick Lamar?
I didn't care because I didn't watch the AMAs. I've never watched the AMAs a day in my life, but I thought it was interesting. And when I looked into it, and when I was hearing about it, I seen that AMA said something about like all the awards are 100% fan generated, and I was like, that's interesting. Either that's bullshit, or either we underestimate the level of Eminem fans that still support him to this day. But I do, whether or not, I think it's kind of crazy that he won over Kendrick, who had like the most culturally relevant hip hop album and hip hop moments in the last year. But is it something that I'm gonna like? They're American Music Awards, bro. So it automatically tells you they're not really too tapped in with the hip hop culture anyway. Like we don't, I don't see us ever caring about the AMAs. I've never seen any black person being up in arms about who didn't win an AMA. I never seen any hip hop artists be mad they didn't win an AMA. I just, like we don't care. You know what I'm saying? But I did think it was kind of interesting because he won not only won over Kendrick, he won over Drake too. And I'm just like, okay, well, and a lot of other artists I was in that category that's probably more culturally relevant in hip hop than him. But it's like, bro, I don't really care as much. You know?
Yeah, I mean, the AMAs have never really been that breeding ground for, I guess, hip hop
I didn't even
credibility.
know they were on.
But I watched it. I will say this, and even with the red carpet, there really wasn't any hip hop artists there. But to me, I'm just gonna be real about it, man. Having Eminem in a rap category is like having Justin Bieber in an R&B category. This guy is more of a pop artist as far as the fan base goes. Now, does he rap? Sure. And does he rap well? Sure. But his music has always been catered to that pop type of audience. So it didn't really matter what he made, whenever he made it. The Eminem show just celebrated 25 years. Yeah. No, I'm sorry. That was Marshall Mathers. Eminem show just celebrated 23 years yesterday. And I remember, or I think it was Monday, one of the two. That album did 1.3 million in sales the first week. I want to say it did something like 287,000 the first day. In the first first 4 weeks, it was triple platinum. Now, the single from that album was Without Me. And I think that it speaks to the type of audience that an artist like that has, where you could drop a song that ain't even really it really doesn't matter what he drops. He's going to sell. His fan base is going to support, and it kind of puts you in the mind of like what a Backstreet Boys was in their era. It didn't matter if they dropped Backstreet's Back or if NSYNC dropped Dirty Pop or whatever. The song didn't even have to be good. Still gonna do 1 million the first day. They did 1 million in one day on No Strings Attached. That's the arena that Eminem's in. So whenever it comes to fan voting or whatever they claim is fan voting, you're not going to beat him. Period. I mean, not in the hip hop category because he's getting support from not only fans that are outside of the hip hop sphere, but outlets that are outside of the hip hop sphere. He gets played on stations that don't even play hip hop if you're still in the radio, or just outlets that don't even play hip hop music. So, I mean, I'm not surprised. I'm never surprised. Like when it came to the Grammys, he won Rap Album of the Year for, I want to say, his first 5 albums. You can't tell me that every single year Eminem dropped an album, it was the best rap album that year. But this is the level of pop stardom that an artist like this has. And it doesn't matter what he makes. That's the part that makes it different. When you got somebody like a Nelly, who is a crossover artist, he still has to make Hot in Here. He still has to make Country Grammar. He still has to make a song that's gonna penetrate for him to go out there, pause, and sell records. This guy can drop Without Me. This guy could go out there and drop The Real Slim Shady and sell 1 million the first week. Can't compete with that. Not numerically.
So here's the thing, and this is the thing about Eminem to me. We know Eminem's target core fan base are not black hip hop listeners, and that's fine. To
Not
say
hip
it's
hop,
not,
period.
no, I can't agree with you on that because records like Without Me, records like The Real Slim Shady is not what defines what a whole Eminem album sounds like. Like the Eminem Show is probably one of his best rapping albums out of all of them.
I think it's his best for sure.
I think is one of the best of him rapping. Now you have the Marshall Mathers LP, and you get The Real Slim Shady, but you also get Stan, you also get Criminal, you also get The Way I Am. You get those type of records. Bitch Please too. Like there's records on there where he's displaying rapping. Now, what does it appeal to us? Does it appeal to something that we could relate to? No. But to dispel it as rapping and make him as a pop star when ironically he was the guy that actually was calling out the bubblegum pop stuff is what I don't like. The thing that he called down is who actually inadvertently showed love back to him. You know, he invoked like this rebellious spirit amongst teenage white kids that it connected with them. But I'm not gonna say his cement and stuff in hip hop should be erased or he's not hip hop and demote him to a pop artist. No, I can't say that because he's been on records with other rappers and showed that he could rap. You know, he has those abilities to get in those bags. Now, does his overall music appeal to me? Do I listen to Eminem today? No, I'm grown. You know what I'm saying? That type of music don't appeal to me. But when you look at records like Without Me or even look at the music videos, it's clear and damn well that those are parody type records and him making fun of other artists. And his advantage was he wasn't able to do what a black artist could because most black artists don't care about what Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera or what the fuck is going on in that pop world enough. He did. So do we demote him from that because he was giving a damn about something that we don't? And this man still had the ability to rap? No, I don't think that's fair. So it's just like, yeah, we all could agree his fan base and his target audience wasn't black hip hop listeners, but can the man rap? Yes. Has he showed displays of being able to rap? Yes. To me, is he making the best music he can make now? No, not in my eyes and my ears. I don't like when M has changed his flow. I don't like that. I don't like this choppy M verse stuff that he did versus how he used to rap. I don't like it. But
you like Eminem to rap like Cage.
I mean, you guys can say whatever you want to say about it, man. M's ability, like I'm not on this. Like I said this plenty of times, man. Like when we talk about M, people could try to put him in that bag of not saying that he's hip hop or his place is not cemented there and everything, or it didn't appeal to nobody. But all actuality is Eminem in his prime. We could talk about, oh, he's not battle tested. He only diss pop rappers, all that shit. But where's the hip hop rappers that was willing to denounce that outside of Benzino or outside of Canibus? People were afraid to battle him. Game
why,
set it
out. Why would we dismiss their point of views?
What do you mean dismiss those point of views? These hip hop artists
dismiss Canibus and say like outside of Canibus, like Canibus
because
had a great. I want to
Canibus
rewind.
had no clout. Canibus had no clout at that time. He was getting at M. He was already finished from LL. He was already finished.
Whoa.
I'm not going to sit here and lie and make it seem like we're checking for Canibus.
No. He mentioned Canibus first, and he waited until Canibus was off of a record label and serving Canibus in the United States Army until he responded to Canibus.
Bro, let's stop it. Nobody was checking for Canibus. LL watched Canibus, bro.
No, it wasn't like that. Y'all got to say something in the chat with this. Go with the super chat says, all AMAs did was participate in the time-honored tradition of bestowing Eminem with another award for his latest crappy album. I will say this, and it was a lot that you said there. I feel like when it comes to Eminem and the pop artists and them being mentioned in songs, I don't view it as calling out that apparatus. I feel as if he was clout chasing off of those names and name dropping because he had the same fan base as those individuals. Anybody who was selling records at that time at a massive level, Eminem was calling out. I mean, what issue does he have with Will Smith? For him to even randomly say Will Smith don't got a cuss in his rap to sell records, I do, fuck him, fuck you too. You're name dropping not Eminem. You're name dropping Will Smith because Millennium just went diamond. You're name dropping Christina Aguilera, Britney Spears, Backstreet Boys, all of these people that your audience or potential audience is familiar with. So when we talk about being competitive in those landscapes and even battle rap, if you will, Eminem understood that the people who buy his records are the same people who buy NSYNC records and the same people who buy Backstreet Boy records and the same people who buy
those records.
And he was speaking to them. And like you said, most hip hop artists wouldn't mention those individuals because their fan base didn't really care about these individuals. But Eminem's did.
Bro, no. People were afraid to battle M, and if they had the chance, they would have. No. Nobody stuck their neck out. Nobody stuck their neck out. Even Game, who came later on, this M, there's interviews, and I've sent it to you guys. There's interviews where Game said it out his mouth himself. People were afraid of the white boy. Let's not act like
Game was signed to Interscope at the time, and he was playing the game.
Y'all can make as many excuses as you want. You can make as many excuses as you can.
I'm not making excuses.
They were even. That was the line. That was what people saying. Nobody wants to battle the crazy white boy.
Because no one took him serious. Like that's in the year 2000,
everybody took him serious as a rapper. What are you saying?
It did.
You're trying to put your view is off without me, the real lady, or whatever. But his rapping ability, people took his rapping ability serious.
If he was taken so seriously, the bar on Ether wouldn't have even been a bar. Nas would have never said Eminem murdered you on your own shit. He wouldn't have. If Jay got murdered by Big Daddy Kane, or if Jay got murdered by DMX on the record, if Jay got murdered by DMX on the record, Nas would have never said DMX murdered you on your own shit. He said that about him because he was a joke.
That's not true. He said he said that because that was what people were saying. Because before they could even digest what Jay was saying, they were saying, "Hey, yo, M got you on your own shit. If you that dope, you that nice, and you let this white boy get you on your own shit, yeah, that's disparaging to Jay." But that's not saying because he didn't take M serious.
Nobody said that into Ether. Like straight up, nobody said that into Ether. I mean, Eminem.
You're trying to create a narrative as somebody didn't his lyrical ability, bro. And that's not
revisionist about it.
It's not true. It's not true.
It is true. MCs didn't really take him serious like that. I mean, DMX even kind of went at Eminem real quick, and Eminem said nothing. Just like when Game, dropped the Black Slim Shady, Eminem said nothing.
I can agree.
But let Benzino or Nick Cannon come out with something. He's back the next day.
Those are ongoing year feuds throughout until this day. Benzino's still talking about Eminem until this very day, bro. Until this very day.
Now I think that when it comes to it's a delicate balance with Eminem, right? If you actually take him serious and actually go for the gusto, then people will say that you're doing too much. And if you say nothing, then you're afraid of him. And it's like it's a delicate balance. And I think that what Benzino has done, he has made himself seem super pressed over Eminem. So anything he says at this point is gonna just be written off as like, Benzino just don't rock with him. People do that to me. People are like, I just don't like Eminem. It's not that. I have no feelings when it comes to that. It's all about the music, and I'm just going everything I see.
If nobody took Eminem's rapping ability serious, then why did your greats have him on records? Why did Jay have him on a record? This is Blueprint now.
Let me answer that. Can I answer that?
He can get Blueprint without having M on there, and there's still
you asked me a question. Let me answer that. At the time, Jay-Z wanted to continue to sell records. I don't think that Jay-Z believed in any of those records on the Blueprint to be hit records. So he went and tapped into the guy who is selling the most records to try to get
Renegade's
his fan base. No, let me finish. To get his fan base to buy his album. He got Eminem on the Blueprint at that time because Eminem was selling the most records. That's why he was on the Blueprint. And he also went and got a beat that clearly didn't match with what Jay claims the theme of the Blueprint was, so that Eminem could feel comfortable on that album.
So do you want to make excuses for every other great that at all? Do you want to make excuses for every other rapper that
I'm
had
not making excuses. You asked me why he was on the record. He was on the record because Jay was trying to sell records.
So
even the fact that on the Unplugged, Jay went out there and was trying to push Jigga, that nigga Jigga, because he didn't believe in these soul samples to be actually singles. The street had to choose You Don't Know, which is unfortunate. Jay should have really ran with those records.
Album, bro. What are you talking about? We know what the singles off the album was. You're talking about B-sides.
Yeah, they shouldn't have been B-sides. And the reason why I feel like the reason why Eminem was chosen to be the only feature on the Blueprint, and honestly, the only feature that should have been on the Blueprint was Siegel. I think the reason why he chose him is the fact that he didn't feel like he didn't have a Big Pimpin' on the Blueprint. He didn't have a Hard Knock Life on the Blueprint. So he needed to make sure that they were going to sell records. And how better to make sure you sell records? Let's get Eminem on here. Let's get his fan base tapped in.
I didn't hear Renegade before I got Blueprint, so it didn't help me go buy the album.
Because you're already a Jay fan. I'm talking about the Eminem fan base who aren't hip-hop fans. Jay was trying to tap
them gravitate to want to hear it just because it's M, but it's like, come on, bro. Like, M been featured on records with other great rappers. Wasn't he not on Get Rich or Die Trying twice and washed on both of the verses?
That's his
Did he not have one of the dopest verses on, if not the dopest verse on both of those songs he was featured on Get Rich or Die Trying?
He had the best verse on
he killed Don't Push Me. He killed
Don't Push Me.
That's verse from Patiently Waiting.
He did his thing on Don't Push Me. I'm not being
He had the best verse from Patiently Waiting. Did he not?
I'm not a fan of Patiently Waiting. I think that's one of the weaker records on the album, in my opinion.
Even later on, even beyond M's heyday, was he not featured on a record with Kanye West, Drake, Lil Wayne, and all of them? And did he not have the best verse on that record?
I don't think his verse was all that, in my opinion.
All right, bro.
I do think that he had some shining moments earlier in his career, like when he worked with Redman on what was that? What soundtrack was that? Y'all help me out in the chat. It was a Def Jam thing. I love his feature on Mad Rappers. Mad Rapper is crazy. Slim Shady is crazy. Like, he has some moments, and I give him when it comes to Forgot About Dre. I give him when it comes to What's the Difference. He got off on those things. Dead Wrong. It's a good feature from him as well. He's had his moments, but as far as when it's time for him to like niggas feared him like Canibus was the only feared MC to that degree on a track.
Nobody feared Canibus, bro. Nobody feared Canibus. Canibus was nice. Nobody feared Canibus, bro.
Canibus was crazy nice.
He was nice, but nobody feared him, bro. That's a created narrative. I've never heard nobody say that.
No, it's not.
I've never heard nobody say
that. A created narrative at all.
Bro.
Nobody wanted to get on the record with Canibus like that.
I've never heard it. I've never heard nobody say that.
Well, ask Nori.
One thing here's the facts.
Ask Cam.
And here's the facts here. And this is what I'm just gonna keep it. Cam lyrically couldn't fuck with M at that time either. And I'm gonna keep it a buck. M watched Cam at that time. Yes, he could. And I like Cam.
You talking about Cameron?
Yeah, at that time, we
didn't even consider him like that. Yeah, Nutty Professor soundtrack.
Did you say Cam? I thought you said Cam. Is that what you just said?
No, I mean, I'm talking about man. Cam was, in my personal opinion, you talking about Come Home With Me, Cam? Like, man, we didn't even consider him like that.
When M is spitting in his prime, there's not a lot of rappers that could fuck with him when he really wanted to rap, bro. I'm just gonna be totally honest with you. Now, can we agree? Didn't make music that appealed to us? Yeah, he never did. None of his music ever appealed to us. Did I still like M? Yes. When I was young, I did listen to M albums. You know what I'm saying? But when it was time for M to rap, M stepped up to the plate and always rapped whenever it was a time. I don't give points or want to discredit M because Game comes amount of times later and say, oh, I want to diss M. M is respected by MCs. There's a reason why, even with Joe Budden getting at M, he could talk all day about how M's sound is now, but there's a reason why Slaughterhouse felt comfortable signing the Shady Records and why they respect M to the way he did. Crooked Eye, all of them guys, they all can. These are real MCs now. These are real MCs. We're not talking about the internet, the internet conversation. How now after the fact people want to revise history. There's real credited MCs. Even when you mention Redman, who would tell you that M gets busy lyrically. But can we say he made music for us? No, he didn't. It wasn't something that appealed to us. We know who his target audience was. So if we want to criticize him for that, yeah. But can we just
it's not criticism, it's just the truth. And I think a lot of the times when you get MCs who are respected MCs, they throw too much sauce on it because they know that M can get them another fan base.
They have no reason to lie. They're not trying to pick up a fan base by giving the man credit. They recognize that the man.
There's no reason to not give him credit. You know what I mean? If Eminem goes out there on a world stage that where people don't know a Master Ace or don't know a Tretch or know a Redman, and he gets on stage and gives that person props, what are you supposed to say? You know what I'm saying? Like all you got to say at that point was like, you know what? He a real one for that.
And then another thing about him, I don't think, unlike a lot of other rappers that came after him, I don't think he used the culture to get ahead and just abused it. I don't think he was that. I actually think he was he grew up in hip hop culture and loved the hip hop culture, and I really think he's a student of the game. I really do think that. I don't like that people try to demote him to like he doesn't have a place history or he didn't do this, whatever. No, lyrically he gets busy, bro. There's a reason why
I think we're making two different arguments here. I agree with that. I think that Eminem did come up on the people that he said he came up on, and I agree with the fact that he was inspired by those folks. But I also believe that when it comes to how he was marketed and who he was pushed towards and the records that were pushed towards that audience, they created from his music an audience that really isn't a quote unquote hip hop audience, and those things aren't his fault. Those things aren't his fault at all. He's a musician, he's an artist going out there doing what he's supposed to do. It's not his fault that he didn't have to play in the hip hop field. He didn't have to go out there and push his records to certain DJs that most hip hop artists have to go through. He never had to go through Flex. He never had to go to any of these clubs
because he made music that targeted a certain type of demographic. Everybody has their own certain type of demographic.
No, it's real. It's real.
It would be different if he can't rap. It would be different if it was Macklemore or if it was one of the other artists. But he showed that you could rap with the greats. So what? I don't understand, bro. Like, what are we taking away from him?
We talk about connecting. He doesn't have music that connects to the hip hop aesthetic. Leroy Green with the super chat says, Mike, M was damn near the face of Lyricist Lounge. Now that's a lie. Mos Def was the face of Lyricist Lounge. What are we talking about? That's offensive, Leroy. Come on, man. The face of Lyricist Lounge? What are you saying? No, Mos Def and Talib were the faces of Lyricist Lounge.
Like I said, I don't like his
those are the things that I'm talking about, Servant. That's the frustrating part. We're gonna go and rewrite history like he was playing in these fields. He wasn't. He was more of a pop artist over here, and that was cool. But we can't years later make it seem like he was sitting there on Flex freestyling and
not years later, bro. In real time, they were respecting him as an MC. I don't know why you have this thing or this theory that it wasn't being talked about how dope the MC was then.
Theory, it's what it was.
All right, bro.
It's what it was. I'm serious,
That's
man.
What I don't like, man. That's what I don't like.
It's wild that people have rewritten it.
You gotta really be honest. Now, if he didn't make music for us and stuff like that, that's cool. If it didn't appeal to us, that's cool, bro. But to say he can't get busy in the hip hop arena, that's a lie, bro. That's a lie.
I mean, listen, I'll say it like this: he didn't make his bones and wasn't successful in doing it in that way. In the same way that we talk about Nicki Minaj and her pop records, could Nicki have gone out there and made hip hop records and been successful as well? Sure, but she didn't do
But
it
we
that
know,
way.
but
She
like
went
even
out
like
there
I
and made
said,
super bass.
but like I said, both things that's true. She the more success. When I said Nicki's most success came off her pop records, that's not shitting on Nicki. It's just a fact. But
Yeah,
do I
same thing with Eminem.
acknowledge
I'm not shitting on
but can
him.
I? But can I? No, you are. But can I say
I'm
that
not.
Nicki? But can I? Do we know that Nicki can get busy when it came to her really rapping? Yes. Just like M, he made records that wasn't for our target demographic, but when he's in that hip hop arena, can he rap? Yes, he can. It just
What
he's the
what hip
MC. It
hop
is what it
classics
is.
does he have?
You said what now?
What hip hop classics does he have?
Who?
Eminem, like what records, when
Eminem Show is
I
a
don't even
classic.
want to say outside or inside or whatever
Eminem
would
Show is
would
a classic, bro.
I'm talking about songs. Like what songs from a hip hop aesthetic will we sit there and be
Stan,
like, you know what?
Stan is
Stan,
goaded. Stan is
man,
goaded.
Stan's more of an alternative pop rock record. Leroy Green with the super chat says, my correction, Mike. I mean, M was the face of Sound Bombing too. And that's from his reputation on the Wake Up Show. Now, Sound Bombing 2, guys, the song on there was Any Man. And I'm glad you mentioned Sound Bombing 2. Any Man is back when Eminem sounded just like the rapper named Cage, and he took his whole style and flow and ran with it. Any Man is cool. It's a record that, it's a niche record, if you will, where he's just out there saying whatever crazy thing you could say. It's like, throwing you down the stairs and throwing you back up them. But we're not going to act like the face of Sound Bombing 2 wasn't Common's 199 featuring Sadat X. That was the single. That was the record that was pushed to actually, give Sound Bombing 2 a face. Most Def, once again, is the face of Sound Bombing 2 as well. I would say Black Star. But whatever, if we want to sit here and revise history and act like Any Man was the record from that album, I think it's wild. Shout out to Cage, too, by the way. But okay, with all those things being said, why is anybody surprised that he won, best hip hop artist at the AMAs?
If they're saying that it was 100%, if it's generated off fan votes and the fans voted, you can't be mad at what the fans vote for. Maybe the fans of Kenny or the fans of anybody else, and you get out there and vote. You know what? I would equate this, not that we even give a damn about AMA, so this is like just me just saying
Right,
this
right,
out of
right.
whatever. But I'm gonna draw this comparison. When people complain about stuff like this, it's like WNBA and people complaining about Caitlin Clark versus Angel Reese. And the reason why I say that is because you know how you can get Angel Reese that notoriety or whatever to support her. Caitlin's fans are supporting her. Support her. Go to the games. So if this is a fan generated award, his fans voted for him. Are you mad because his fans voted for him?
His fans will always show up.
Exactly. So we need to show up for the artists we believe in. I have no gripe in this. I have no dog in that fight. I can give two shits about the AMAs. I didn't watch them. They never generated in the hip hop culture to me. That's not what I check for. But I think Eminem deserves a place in hip hop culture. I do believe he can really get busy. And honestly, try to like take him out of that conversation of stuff that's already solidified. You're playing a game that like Benzino couldn't even win over 20
I mean,
years.
yeah, I'm not trying
What
to
is it
play
what is it
a
he
game or
he
anything.
has?
I'm just being honest. Like,
I'm being
and
honest.
if we want to sit here and talk about the impact, and we're about to talk about NWA in a second, I think that a lot of people diminish the impact that the Beastie Boys have on hip hop. I've always said that. And I think it's unfortunate. I think they came so early. I think that their unorthodox style, as far as like, what they did on the mic, it didn't fit what many people consider, a MC aesthetic. But sonically and what they brought to the table and the influence that they had on NWA, Ice Cube's writing, shit, even Public Enemy and Bomb Squad's production style and sampling style, we don't give the Beasties enough credit. I think they're one of the more incredible overall bands, period, or
You're
groups,
giving the
period.
Beastie Boys credit, but you're not giving Eminem credit as an MC. That is crazy.
No, I mean, I'm just calling it what it
And
is.
you
Like,
call Eminem a pop artist.
he is.
But you're big up
He
in the
is.
Beastie Boys.
The Beastie Boys,
That was
they
rapping top
crossed
notch
over.
to you.
Huh?
That was lyrical superiority. What Beastie Boys was
I
doing,
think
and
the
shout out
Beastie
to
Boys
Beastie.
were, well,
Beastie's
see,
is historic, but that's what you're giving credit to and shitting on
it was,
Eminem.
like I said, it was more of about it was more about sonic choices. It was more about, hold it now, and they were at the ground floor, and when hip hop was trying to actually develop a sound, you can hear the sonic. You can hear the influence that Beasties had on from NWA to even 3-6 to a certain degree. The Beasties are incredibly influential. In my personal opinion, if we want to talk about influence, and it's not even fair because they came so early, the Beasties' influence on hip hop is way more reaching than Eminem's influence on hip hop. Nobody came to the games like, I got to sound like him. I mean, really. Maybe after the fact. I will give him some credit. I think Kendrick has some ways like Eminem flow wise, but nah, man, the Beasties sound is so far reaching. Their influence, in my opinion, is way more felt in hip hop than Eminem's.
Look,
And I don't think they get enough credit for it.
I fuck with the Beasties and I fuck with their influence, but for you to be big up in the Beasties after you're saying that Eminem is pop is funny to me.
I don't feel like the Beasties were pop. I think they started off as a rock band. They developed as a band. I do think that
you give that more credit for rapping than you give Eminem's lyrical ability when he has showcased multiple times that he could rap.
His stuff didn't connect like theirs, though. I mean, does Eminem rap better from a technical standpoint than the Beastie Boys? Sure. But if we're talking about the connectivity of the records and the connectivity of the albums and the influence, nah. I will say this, though. When we rank hip hop groups, I don't rank the Beasties as high as I would certain groups in hip hop because they didn't do hip hop, I don't want to say long enough. It is what it is. But if we're talking about as an overall group, I think the Beasties are in a different conversation. I think the Beasties they're in a conversation that the Outcasts, the Wu-Tangs, the Tribes are in if we're talking about overall groups. But if we're talking about hip-hop group, I don't know if they crack the top 10, if I'm being fair. Because so many people put in so much work and didn't take a break from hip-hop.
You think that Eminem has more relevance in who he's influenced than the Beasties in this day? Let's think about all the white rappers that came after Eminem.
I mean, let's think about all the white rappers that came after the Beasties. They were first.
How many? Name them. You can name them all on one hand.
Eminem, Everlast, Vanilla Ice, if you will, Marky Mark. It happened. Oh, also MC Search. Yeah, the Beastie Boys are pretty influential.
Yeah, Eminem's influence was stronger than the Beasties. I'm sorry, bro.
So, who are the white rappers that came after Eminem?
Every white rapper that exists right now.
Who are the white rappers?
Even one that dissed him was influenced by M, and that's MGK. You have MGK. Okay. All the so-called white rappers right now were influenced by Eminem.
Who are all the white rappers right now, though?
G-Eazy, Logic. You have
Logic's not white. We're not gonna do that.
Logic's white. I don't care what Logic is white.
Logic's mulatto. What are we talking about?
All the white rappers after Eminem have been influenced by Eminem, bro. Let's keep it a stack, bro. Let's not act like that.
I'm not gonna give you Logic. Am I gonna give you Russ? Maybe. I don't feel like Mac Miller's that Eminem influence. I didn't hear it. I think the only thing that he's influenced,
and M has influenced black rappers.
Oh, thanks, Snow. I will say that he's influenced. Dang, what's that nigga's name with the green eyes and shit? Y'all know what I'm talking about. Dang, what was his name? It'll come to me in a second. I think, Eminem has influenced Kendrick's flow some. But Kendrick has a bunch of influences, though. I don't know, man. I mean, I don't know if the white rapper pool is that strong. And honestly, I don't feel like Mac Miller was Eminem influenced like that. When I listen to Mac Miller, I don't hear Eminem. I think the only correlation there is that they're white. And if Mac Miller were to say that, Eminem made him feel like he could rhyme because, he was white too. I could see that. But as far as the music goes, nah. Mac Miller was rhyming over Premier beats and stuff, man. Like, Em don't do that. He don't rhyme over rhythmic stuff. All right, I'm getting disrespectful now. Let's move on. Savant's like, yo, man, this is a losing battle.
Because like I said, man, I could talk about like what he didn't appeal to his target fan base. We can have that conversation, bro. But to try to act like his influence or his rapping ability or he wasn't getting busy and people feared him as MC, we're not gonna sit here and act like these type of things didn't exist.
He's had some good performances, but nobody.
MCs respect Drake. I mean respect M, and there's a reason why top MCs will give him that credit and also did records with this guy. He deserves a place to be in hip hop culture, bro. He solidified in what he did.
Yeah, he brings a fan base. I give him that. Yellow Wolf is I would say is influenced by him, I guess. And 3-6. Yeah, Mad Max, yeah. Mac was nice. R.I.P. to Mac Miller. Speaking of awards shows, BET Awards is coming up, and they got Kevin Hart hosting. What does this say, man? Like, I feel like that's huge, in my opinion. I know people don't care about BET Awards, and we always say we don't care. Are they trying to turn the page with this hosting choice?
Not. I mean, yeah, they're looking for a bigger show, but Kevin Hart's not a stranger to BET Awards. I think he hosted the BET Awards before, the BET Hip Hop Awards before a couple times. So them going back to him, I actually think was dope because I feel like when Kevin Hart never stops working, that's number one. But I feel like Kevin Hart has done really well with appealing to the younger generation as well. I see him along with Kai Cenat, Drewski. There's even rumor that they may be doing a movie together. I think he was an entertaining host. And then I like the fact that they're doing a 106 and Park reunion too, and I think that's pretty dope because I don't think that I think they did like a little special about 106 and Park at one time, but I don't think they were fully like tributed, to have all hosts in one spot and all that again. I think they did do like a little what's the name, like documentary or something, a little special 106 before, but I feel like this is dope. I mean, the BET Hip Hop Awards kind of fell off last year with the Taraji hosting. I feel there's a lot of propaganda around it because, you had the election. There was a lot of pushing of certain things. But I think the BET Awards could always redeem itself. I think the Hip Hop Awards is finished.
Yeah, I don't think that's even necessary. I think Mike Sean with the super chat says, no, I'm sorry, I disagree. Eminem has hip hop songs, Soldier, Till I Collapse, Role Model, Scary Movie, and there's more. So I have to disagree with you. Yeah, the one man on the planet that could jump off of the Grand Canyon, hop out of the Grand Dam, and land at a handstand. Yeah, I'm glad they're revisiting 106 and Park. I know they tried to revisit Rap City. Was that on the?
I think that was like a special or something.
Yeah,
I think it was special. I mean, they did something when they were on the set of the basement, I think, or whatever. Yeah. But it's like I don't think it was like a tribute to him or whatever. They say all hosts are gonna be there, like every single host in 106 and Park. So I think that's gonna be dope. I think actually that is really dope because the importance of 106 and Park kind of goes under the radar a little bit because they were the show that when kids were getting off school, they're going there. When people are getting off work, they're trying to catch. Like everybody tuned in to 106 and Park to see these videos, to see Freestyle Friday, to see who's going to come be on that couch. Like what they were for the culture and that run on BET was crazy because, music programming and television was so dope at that time because the lineup was crazy. You got Hits from the Street, you got Cedar's World, you got Rap City, The Basement, then you got 106. And then they even, depending on who got a new music video, they had the access granted or whatever. You get the behind the scenes. It was like the behind the music with MTV.
Yeah, it was like kind of like a making of the video type of thing. Yeah. Like I do remember, people would go to the computer lab and all that stuff so they could actually vote on the videos that were on 106 and Park. And back then we thought that it was kind of a playoff of what MTV did with, TRL, Total Request Live, where for the first time, the audience felt like they had a say so on what was actually going to be on the countdown. And listen, I don't have any inside information to say that it wasn't. I mean, people feel
I don't
like the
think
NBA
it's so
lottery
exaggerated.
is fixed, and whatever. But I mean, I think what 106 was huge in the fact that we finally had something like that we felt like was ours, and you didn't have to, as hip hop artists or as just black music, period. You didn't have to have some super crossover record to go over to TRL to get on a countdown like that, and it was certain artists that ran 106. Like I feel like, they always say Bow Wow was the king of 106, which I could see that. But I don't think B2K happens without 106. To me, you want to talk about somebody who ran 106 who doesn't get enough credit, man. Ja Rule was running shit when 106 started.
Ja Rule, Bow Wow, B2K,
Yeah.
who else?
106 was pivotal
Ludacris
in launching Ludacris too.
Yeah, 106.
Because I remember when Southern Hospitality was on that countdown. We were proud, man. We were like, yo,
made a lot of people
made it.
Yeah, and I just feel like them starting off with Free and AJ, these were new faces to me, but certain people that like listen to radio, I think Free has like, I think a documentary on Free is even dope because she did choreography and was dancing back then, and then I know she has a radio pass. Yeah, stuff like that. So Free actually has a dope hip hop pass. It's sort of like Big Les when hip hop, her dancing background, her being in the Remember the Time video with Michael Jackson, her being the person that was Big Les. She was the one dancing on the Living Single, the intro song. She's the one that's dancing in the background, all that. So Big Les was even dope to hip hop culture as well. And kind of open the doors for somebody like Free in the BET space as well. And until that Rap City documentary it did, a lot of people don't really talk about Big Les in the respect they should, because not only was she dope, she looked good too.
I love Big Les. Big Les and Joe Claire actually are my favorite. They're my favorite Rap City era.
Yeah, definitely. So like 106.
They had great chemistry.
Yeah, 106 Park was like the premiere, and then like it was such a big thing when when Free and AJ.
What was your favorite performance from 106?
My favorite performance from 106. Good question.
I'm trying to think of what really stood out for me.
I remember moments more than I remember like certain performances.
What moments stick out?
Like when AJ and Janet Jackson. I remember that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember Free getting up there and dancing with Destiny's Child and all that. I remember that. I remember the gin battles. I remember
you remember Paperboy?
Yeah, I remember Blind Fury. I remember
Blind Fury was the one.
I remember the Bow Wow.
Blind Fury is the best rapper to ever come out of 106 and Park. Yes, I said it. Blind Fury was crazy.
Yeah, man. This is like, it's so many moments that was on there. I remember when R. Kelly got on there and he dissed, Cisco at the time, and Usher, because Cisco was, kind of like talking his shit around that. I mean, Cisco was kind of talking his shit around that second album, and R. Kelly get on there and then Usher came out there. It's just like, it's so many moments in history of 106, man, and what they did, and how they carried hip hop in a countdown show. And man, it was just such a moment in the era. And then after Free and AJ left, they got Terrence and Roxy. And it was like, it took a while to warm up to them, but they just picked up right after it left. That when they ended, it was like, damn, we thought 106 was over. And it was at a time where a lot of people wasn't tuning into it the same way they did for AJ and Free or whatever, but people were still tuning in to see what was on 106. But like I said, the internet era started pushing in when Bow Wow and Keisha Shantae was on there, but they still kind of was doing things on there for a certain extent. But it was just a time, bro.
I think YouTube killed shows like that, right? Because the whole thing was, just you being able to be in control of what was coming on television. Being able to vote. But now that you can actually go on the internet and go on the YouTube or go on your phone and pull up those videos whenever you want, it kind of takes away from that. And I think that video television, if you will, has never really recovered from that. And I think that award shows from video television networks got to figure out how to get over that hurdle as well, because it's one thing when you have an award show and you've been playing music videos all day for 365 days a year, but now you don't play any music and you have an awards show. It's like, okay, well, what's the barometer? Because before you would be able to see, like, okay, well, based on these nominees here, I watch BET all the time. This Ja Rule song was running shit. He should win. But if you don't have that anymore, it really makes it difficult to really understand what the, I don't want to say the analytics, but what, I'm saying, what's the criteria for giving awards? And really at this point, you don't play music. Who are you to actually give awards? You know what I mean? I think they got to cross that hurdle as in MTV too. McShawn with the super chat says, I don't know any. He said, I don't know if Blind Fury was better than MC Jen. Yes, Blind Fury was better than Jen.
Yeah, he was better because he knew that was off the top of the head for real.
I couldn't get out of my mind when Jen got roasted by Sirius Jones. I mean, that has ruined my memories of Jen. So I don't think
Jen was nice though. I don't say Jen was nice.
Sirius Jones went crazy. That was one of the worst losses I think I ever seen in a rap battle. Like, Jen was lost, man. Like, you talk about being punch drunk.
Jen was so nice. Jen was so nice on 106 and Park. He got him signed to Rough Riders. You know what I'm saying? Whether that materialized anything or whatever, either way, it got him a look on that. It got him to a Fast and the Furious movie. It got him a moment. And he was big over there in China, I believe. I think he still has a big fan base over there right now.
What Sirius Jones say is like, ain't a billion people over there? You can't even go platinum over there or something like that. It's a billion people in China. You can't go platinum over there.
Yeah, man. But 106, man. 106 was a time period that, like, it was important for hip hop. And I don't think we're gonna I don't know. It was nice, but I don't think we're ever gonna get a moment like or something like that again in this space. Because, like I said, the internet, once it took over, TV became obsolete. You know, people are not going to TV to see what the new hottest video is. People are barely wanting to go to YouTube. Like, these YouTube numbers be saying the video went to X amount of things, but people are just going to see, like, it's like when Cardi B and Meg dropped WAP. You know why people are tuning in. You know what I'm saying? So now we look at all the views and like all these million on YouTube. It is certain videos that, like, we watch them so casually. Like, on my regular day-to-day, sometimes I'll go through watch shorts. I've watched probably, if I can count how many videos I probably scroll through on YouTube, it's probably crazy daily, but it's not like I'm going there to look at music videos. You know, I'm not.
Right.
Music videos and the impact is not the same as it was when you're tuning to 106 and wanting to see who's number one. Like you said, there are people that was retired from being number one on 106. They're like, hey, we got to stop playing this video. Like I said, you had Ja Rule, you had the B2Ks, you had the Lil Bow Wows, you had, like, those are people who lived on that number one thing. R. Kelly lived on the number one stuff. Like, there were so many artists that revived careers or started careers there, and 106 was just kind of like that place for hip hop, man, that we all tuned in on. And BT had such a nice lineup. They had such a nice lineup, and then it got crazy, man. TV, that reality TV thing started coming in. They even, went there a little bit at College Hill. I went to college with a few of the College Hill people. So College Hill came in and everything, and then it's like, when they started doing away with, like, the music programming, that's when you start getting syndicated TV shows on there. That's when you start getting Baby Boy played 50 times a week and stuff like that. But music television, man, it was such a time to be alive. And I think 106 and Park is one of those very important things for my era and one of the most important things for that era of hip hop at the time.
Well, hopefully it gets a great, reunion or anniversary, and we'll be watching that, if anything, for the nostalgia. I do think that there is a future in music videos and interaction and engagement. But I don't want to, say any of that stuff online where people, steal ideas. So we'll work on those things in the background. NWA dropped Niggas for Life 34 years today. Niggas for Life it's one of those, again, we talk about the Marvel what ifs. I think we need to do some of those for hip hop and actually get an animator or whatever to, help us, show some of those stories. But there's a lot surrounding Niggas for Life to me. For me, sonically, if you love The Chronic, I feel like Niggas for Life sonically is the prequel of that, right?
I can see how you said that.
If we're talking about content, I think it's some of the worst content that you'll ever hear on a hip hop album. Do not listen to this around your kids. As kids, we shouldn't have been listening to this. It's terrible, terrible stuff. But it sounds good, and I think it set the stage for what we ended up getting with Death Row Records. Just the narratives, the soundscape, the subject matter, how raunchy things could get, but still making it where it was palatable to your ears, where you're repeating things that you shouldn't be repeating. Saying all that to say, NWA's first album, Straight Outta Compton, I think is so pivotal and so historic for two reasons: production and the writing and the execution. I don't give a fuck attitude. That's more than two things. But lyrically, Ice Cube was the catalyst of it. He was the writer. And I always refer to Ice Cube as the writer of gangster rap, man. He is that. And he set the script for it. And once he was gone, it was almost reckless abandonment, right? The album sounded great, but the messages were horrible. And I always wonder, what does Niggas for Life sound like if Ice Cube is still in that group? The Ice Cube that made Death Certificate, because this is the same year. They made the classic Death Certificate, is in NWA making Niggas for Life with this group.
I feel it would have still had that menacing type appeal, but I feel like the subject matter would have been more directed. Like when you listen to like Straight Outta Compton, you hear Fuck the Police, or you hear like Straight Outta Compton, you hear those other records on there, you kind of could see, yeah, they were out there, yeah, they were jumping at you, yeah, they were disrupting and being a menace, but it sort of seemed like it was guided, like there was a cause to it. And then For Life seemed like Rebels without the cause. I mean, it was still a number 2 album. But
oh no, success was there.
Yeah,
and a lot of people credit Niggas for Life with being the album that showed record labels, because this is when the RIAA start really tracking, right? It really showed the industry that hip hop could really sell records, because before then, people were kind of just counting on some mom and pop type shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yo, Master Chat says, once it got to a point where we could literally watch a new music video on the phone in a classroom, that was it. Yeah, facts.
I mean,
go ahead, my bad.
He made a point for what transpired with how it fell off, man. Like I said, YouTube killed a lot, internet killed a lot of stuff that's just like time capsules for us now to talk about. Yeah. But back to the Niggas for Life album, like I said, like things like Straight Outta Compton, Niggas for Life, Niggas for Life, I was already born, but I wasn't born around NWA, but I have my history and learned all that. My mom was a big NWA and Eazy-E fan. She still has her tour ticket. I think I shared it with you guys in the chat, some months ago, from her ticket stub from when she went to go see NWA and Eazy and everything, from when she used to live in Cali. But, I'm a hip hop baby. I used to hear the stuff in the house. I know all this stuff. I actually think the lead single for Niggas for Life was dope. The Appetite for Destruction. I like that video. I like the beat. I like that video. I like that record. But yeah, you're right. I felt like, they were coming at you. It was out there. They're telling hood stories or whatever on Straight Outta Compton or whatever. But you could kind of see the beginning of shock factor and capitalizing on those efforts, but it seemed like misdirected messaging with being the rebellious in that way, as opposed to like Straight Outta Compton. And that's the difference between those two. Minus, the big elephant in the room, but Cube not being a part of
Yeah.
that no more.
It's just really fascinating to me to think, as Cube clearly grew as an artist, because when you listen to Death Certificate, Cube is there. Like, he's all the way, he's not even in development mode. Like, if you're gonna talk about Cube at his peak, listen to Death Certificate, and to think that that guy could have been on the production that was on Niggas for Life, and with that level of direction, a guy who made True to the Game and things like that. Like, I'm interested to hear how diverse their sophomore album would have been, because you don't get to express yourself on Niggas for Life, but you do get an Appetite for Destruction. You do get 100 Miles and Running. You do get what's the You Don't Know Me, a record can't tell you. What's the record I'm thinking about? It'll come to me in a second.
There's
But
joints album, man, but like,
it's a great album. I
yeah.
mean, if I'm rating Niggas for Life, the only marks that I'm giving it is on the content. But if we're talking about production, skits, flow, songs, I mean, it's a good 4.5. If we're being honest, like, it's a good 4.5 out of 5. I mean,
and then on top of that, I feel like this is a big showing of MC Ren as a rapper too, because
right.
Ren is one of those guys out of that group that was kind of underrated, because Ren was nice. Ren was really nice back then, and I think it was a good showing of Ren as a rapper. But it's crazy.
As a writer too. I mean,
how many years? What is the year anniversary on this one?
It was 91, so it's 34 years ago.
34 years, same age as me. Crazy.
Yeah.
And I was 90, so
yeah,
I wasn't even, I was a baby, man. But yeah, man.
I think this album gets lost in the shuffle. It's very, like I said, when you talk about Death Row, this album is the prequel of that, and where the sound that Dre was going to run with was going to. This album is that. And I do think that this album gets forgotten because of No Vaseline and what Ice Cube did there. He kind of dismantled.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They broke
up the whole group, broke up the whole thing. So now when we talk about NWA, we talk about Straight Outta Compton. I know somebody asked Ice Cube about Niggas for Life, and he was referring to the cover, and he was like, "Yeah, I wouldn't have been getting beat down by the cops." So obviously, the mindset and the mind state was in two totally different places. At this time, Ice Cube's rocking with the Nation of Islam. You know what I'm saying? And NWA is clearly not on that stuff at this point. So it's just a very interesting thing, and to think that the contract disputes is what kind of put this into play. NWA is such an incredible group, man. Like, that group in itself is responsible for a huge percentage of a whole coast. And it's insane. Like, when you break that group apart, from Easy to Dre, shit, Yella to Cube, they're responsible for so many people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's just like, I don't know what if looks like in that situation, because it birthed such a great career for Cube.
Yeah,
birthed such a great career for what we know and got from Dre. We start to see, what M was. I'm not M, but what Easy was trying to form. With his Ruthless roster later on. I mean, there's so many what ifs that could have happened, but I feel like it's just necessary for a lot of these things to take place for other things to evolve and occur, man. So it's just like I could imagine at that time when Cube left. I know that was probably big for a lot of people. I don't know the impact of that then, because I wasn't around then or whatever. But man, I could imagine that second album, the impact of that one, and how it would have been compared to Straight Outta Compton. But all these guys, for the most part, had great careers. I mean, Yellow, other stuff, and Ren, he was just a casualty of the Ruthless thing with Easy going out, unfortunately, untimely. But overall, Q fared well from it. You know,
Cuban Dre
Drake.
did great.
I mean, hell, Easy was Easy wasn't a slouch afterwards after the breakup
Yeah.
either. I mean, real motherfucking G's is like one of those underrated diss records to me. I actually like that record. I thought, them with Dresta and what's his name? I always forget his name. He be doing a Vlad interview sometime, but
Oh, you talking
that
about BG Knockout?
knockout, man, that is a top rated diss record to me.
Well, he signed Bone Thugs and Harmony and Black Eyed Peas before his passing. But when you think about, I don't know if it's eerie or what, but think about how huge of a record Bones Crossroads was. And that was for Easy. And then you think about how huge of a record
Easy was on the
Diddy,
album.
yeah. And you think about how huge of a record Diddy's Missing You was, and that was about Big. You know what I mean? Like that's really eerie and that's really weird. Speaking of Diddy, before we get out of here,
Yeah.
we're 3 weeks in this trial. What's going on in this trial? Like, I mean, I don't say what's going on based on what you see, because that'd be a whole nother show. Based on what you see right now, like, what are your thoughts about this trial?
I think Diddy's gonna get convicted, but based on
Really?
everything now, yeah, I do. The defense right now kind of fumbled with how they pressed that last witness, the Capricorn Clark. They kind of opened the Pandora's box for something else. At first, I mean, I still don't see. I just don't see how all this stuff being presented and this guy gets off. That's the only thing I'm gonna say. Because I don't think they're really proving a case of what all the charges are too tough, but I think they're proving a good case that could make a jury say this guy's guilty.
Yeah,
So
like he did all these things.
Yeah, I don't think all these. I think this last witness was probably like, I would say, and this is not too hard to say, I think she's like one of the most credible out of everybody that's been on stand. I think Don Richards, I mean, you see what Q from Day 26 calling out with her. She doesn't seem too credible. Even with with the abuse of Cassie and everything, it still seems like she's not squeaky clean in all of this either. And I don't think the witnesses have been very strong, but I just really think their case or whatever they're trying to make against how horrible of a person Diddy is enough stories and testimony that this jury is going through where I don't think that he's going to be found innocent of this. I mean, if it happens, that'll be crazy, but I think they're at least going to convict him of something. Even the smallest one of those charges, accounts, whatever, they're going to find that and they're going to try to throw the book at him. And
I can see that. I mean, from what I'm seeing, I think they're trying to paint this picture that he's a ruthless individual, no pun intended. And I think they're making that case. I think where they're struggling to, connect the dots is to connect this bad boy and Combs enterprise to who he is as an individual, right? And it's like they're trying to connect these individual acts of revenge or malice or whatever to a criminal enterprise. Like, you know what? I ran down on him because he was, or I went to have a conversation with him or whatever because he was with my girl. But somehow they're trying to tie that into, the business. And it's not really business. It was more personal. Whereas in a criminal enterprise, the business and personal are meshed. So I don't know. But I do agree.
Obviously, we can see he wasn't a great person. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, he wasn't a great person, but I don't see him getting out of this totally. If it does, I mean, there's still a lot to go, a few more weeks to go. But I know I seen that Brian Still's trying to get Kid Cudi's testimony thrown out there, and I actually kind of understand why. I mean, what is the relevance?
I understand too.
What is the relevance?
Because you can't
just confirm. Yeah, he's confirming some stories that Cassie is told about the situation around them, but you can't confirm that he blew up your car. You asked him about it. He said he don't know what you're talking about. Do we think Diddy probably did it? Most likely, but can you prove it? It's not about what we think; it's what you can prove. And fortunately, court is not raised. Niggas are not convicted off assumption and speculation. You have to have some type of facts. Now it's different if he paid somebody and that person is a witness and can speak and say, "Hey, Diddy hired me to do X, Y, Z," or B, you find some DNA of his on any of that what was happening. Now, I did read the story, and I don't know if it's credible, so you guys don't take this as word because I have to confirm the sources on it if it's credible. But they did say there was some key evidence with that Molotov cocktail, whatever glass that from the bottle that was thrown into Kid Cudi's car. There
Okay,
was some
that's
key
a start.
that was thrown away and that was destroyed. So I don't know if there was some, some things there, but as of
But
right
you
now, they
gotta
don't
have
have.
evidence of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't really know how the relevance of Kid Cudi stuff goes along to just. I don't see no crime in him sitting him and Cassie down and having that conversation or whatever they talked about, and he asked him about the car, said whatever, and it was peace. He didn't do anything to Cudi. I mean, besides Cudi saying like he broke into his house or some shit like that. I don't
And
know what all
opened up
that was
his
about.
Christmas gifts and stuff.
Yeah, but like I said, it seems like a whole lot of speculation and not facts. Do I think Diddy possibly did all this? Yes, I really do. I don't think he was a good person at all. But
It's not about what we think.
it's not about what we think, it's about what you can prove. And
Yeah.
I don't see him getting off, man. It's just like, I mean, like I said, I don't think a lot of these people involved in this stuff have clean hands and all this. Even with Don getting on there and testifying, I'm like, you was just on the Love album. You know what I'm saying? It's like if he was
Just
just
on the
featuring
Love
on
album.
his last
And you
album.
was on Diddy Dirty Money, man. You could have left many a times.
You got your ex speaking out against you and all this stuff and all from dates. Like these witnesses are not like as credible to me. But like I said, man, I just
All
think
these
that
things can be true.
there's no way that he walks free with all these stories, all these things that's happening. I mean, I think it's too hard to try to tell a jury, oh, he should be innocent of it. But I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. I have no dog in that fight, man. That's probably one of the craziest celebrity trials I've heard with the stuff that's coming out and everything. It's been kind of like it's been a circus, bro.
It's a circus for sure. All right, man. Everybody hit like and subscribe, man. Appreciate y'all joining us on a Wednesday. I hope everybody had a great Memorial Day, man. I appreciate you, Savant, as always. And I think we knocked out some pretty great topics here. I know I got on the Eminem tangent. Y'all can hit replay on that.
And we keeping them coming back to back too, man. So y'all stay
Yes,
tuned.
sir.
Oh man, rhymes
Stay
and reason.
tuned.
Back to it. So I appreciate y'all checking in. And like I said, again, shout out to LP and Mad Max for the episode last week. Y'all went in. And we're gonna keep it coming for y'all, man.
All right, there it is.